Now, Miss Gamet,
Yes.
I want you to tell my Real World Podcast audience, tell us a little bit about your upbringing in your childhood.
Okay. How far back do you want me to go with this?
I want you to go back as far as you feel that we need to go back, as you know, because we want to know who you are. We want to know who the real Camia is. We want to know that person versus the person that we saw in the media, that the media and the prosecution painted of you. So let's go with what you feel that we should know.
All right. Well, I was born in Jackson, Michigan, to my parents, Joyce Carlton and James Williams. I don't remember my parents too much. My mother has told me once I was older that my father was very physically abusive, and due to that, she left him when I was 2 years old, and she moved to Iowa. And from there, she ended up with a man by the name of Moses Green, who was very physically abusive to us. He was also physically abusive to my mother. He was also sexually abusive. I don't remember that. My biological mother ended up losing custody of her children back in 1985. And then we were placed in foster homes with the Gamets. Butch Gamet turned out to be a molester for several years, at which point I ended up telling the counselor at school. So I grew up around a lot of dysfunctionalism. I didn't have a lot of love as a child. I remember feeling lonely as a child a lot, feeling unloved, and I didn't connect well with people because I felt like I just remember feeling like a burden. I just felt like I couldn't trust people a lot. I was in juvenile homes from the ages of 11 to 16 in 13 different juvenile homes until I ran away back to Jackson to basically meet, per se, my biological parents, to discover that my mother was a crackhead and my father was a paranoid schizophrenic. I tried staying with him for a while, but after a week, he pulled a butcher knife on me, and I ended up in the streets at 16. I didn't know anyone in Jackson. I was scared, and my foster mother would not let me come back home. So from that point, I became a prostitute at the age of 16. And I just remember feeling very lost at that time, very sad, and just not really knowing where to turn. So from that point, I just was in the streets a lot. So basically, I was pretty much, I didn't have any kind of family direction, any kind of family support, any kind of things that a normal child should have at that age. I was 16, so I ended up, I think that's why I started being with a lot of abusive men, and from just seeing my mother with abusive men at a young age, I think that's where that cycle began.
Okay. Now, I want to go back a little bit. When you say that sexual abuse came in from your mother's boyfriend, Moses Green, did Moses Green sexually molest you, or it was just towards your mother?
No, he was molesting me and my brothers and sisters. I don't remember it because I was 2. But what happened is when my mother lost custody of us, Child Protective Services became involved, and in my later years of me being in the juvenile homes, I actually had the same judge on my case who was the same judge who terminated my mother's parental rights, and he felt that it was relevant for me to read the reports of why he terminated my mother's rights, and he felt that that was part of the reason why I was having behavior problems in my youth. And so when I read the reports, it was in there from when social services would visit to our house and my brothers and sisters would report it and things like that. But me being so young, I don't remember it, but they had told the social workers that my mother's boyfriend, Moses Green, was touching me and things like that when I was 2 years old.
Okay. Now, I want to talk back about Butch Gamet. How old were you when Butch Gamet started sexually molesting you?
I was 9 years old.
9 years old. So the molesting kept going from 9 until you ran away at 16, or it stopped before 16?
No, it happened from age 9 to 11, and when I was 11 years old, I had told my foster mother, and she had become angry with me because she didn't want me to tell anyone, but I had ended up telling the counselor at school, and at that point, the children's services had become involved and made him leave the house, and then basically she had resented me for that because it had hit the papers, and it was kind of a little small neighborhood and everybody knew everybody, and so it was just pretty much an embarrassment for her that her husband was known for that, and so she kind of just resented me after that, and due to her not reporting it when she was supposed to, she was charged with child neglect, which made it so social workers would have to come out to the house and check on our well-being every 2 weeks, and so she would tell them that I was having all these behavior problems that I really wasn't until they finally placed me in juvenile homes.
Okay, so basically the key was to have you removed from the home so Butch could come back home. Is that right? Or possibly is that it?
No, she just wanted me removed from the home because she felt like I ruined her happy home.
Okay. Now, can I ask you, did anything ever happen to Butch? Did he get charged or anything?
Yes, he was charged, and we were sent to counseling, and they were asked if we wanted him to be sent to jail, and they told us if he was sent to jail that they would probably beat him up or possibly even kill him. And us being little children, we still felt like he was our father, so we cried for him and we begged them not to send him to jail. So because of that, he was not given any jail time.
Okay. Now, through any of your situations, have you heard anything from the Gamet family or not?
No, not at all.
Now, can I ask you a question? By knowing that your name is Gamet, after a man who was molesting you at the age of 9 to 11, how does that make you feel to wear his last name?
That still actually bothers me to this day, and I had always planned on getting that name changed. My birth given name was Camia Bernice Carlton, but once I was adopted, that name was changed to Camia Tiffany Gamet. So that is my legal given name, and due to me being in prison, I have to go by that name. But when I first came here, I did attempt to change it because we have a policy where you can change it and you have to state the circumstances. So I felt like my circumstances were very relevant. But unfortunately, that policy has been changed, so it's no longer permitted. So therefore, I'm stuck with that name, but I prefer to go by Mia, and that's what most people call me.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna call you, Mia. throughout the rest of this interview. We're going to call you Mia. We're not going to call you Miss Gamet, and we're not going to call you Camia. And I normally call every inmate that I interview, I call them Mr. or Miss, so by their last name. So we're just going to call you Mia. Okay. What is?
I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome, Mia. Your biological parents, where are they today?
Yes.
Where are they today?
I don't have much contact with my biological parents. My mother is in Mesa, Arizona, and my father is in Detroit, Michigan. And I haven't heard from my mother since I've been incarcerated. She's never really liked me since I met her when I was 16. And my father, I haven't heard from him for the last 3 years.
So now when you say your mother never liked you from the age of 16 when you first met her, do you know the reason why? Did she ever state the reason of her why she didn't like you?
No, she never told me.
Okay. So basically, Mia, we're going to say that you had a pretty rough life coming up through the system.
Yes.